Hello and welcome back to this Library of Ruina series. In this video, I'm going to be going over the first 5 abnormality battles in the game: Bloodbath, Scorched Girl, Forsaken Murderer, Today's Shylock, and Heart of Aspiration. But first, let's talk about what abnormalities are and what they can do for you. Abnormalities are a special reception that must be done on a certain floor, and when completed, upgrade that floor with new effects and a new librarian. These effects, abnormality pages, come up when your team advances in emotion level and provide a boost depending on what card you take. There are 2 types of abnormality cards: green awakening cards and red breakdown cards. Green cards are shown more often when you have more positive emotion coins, and red cards when you have more negative emotion coins. Now that you know the basics, let's move on to the first abnormality, Bloodbath. Bloodbath's passive makes its defensive dice very strong and it's very resistant to slash. However, it's very weak to blunt, so our deck will be full of blunt cards to capitalize on this. When Bloodbath uses its card Sinking, I generally like to pass without casting anything. Against the card Anxiety, a Dirty Blow or Backstreet Dash will usually win, and against Pale Hand, Wall Up or Dirty Blow will have the best effect. When Bloodbath gets staggered, using Wall Up will deal the most damage. After defeating Bloodbath, you'll gain access to these 3 abnormality pages. Right now, Blood is mostly useless. You don't have that many defensive die in your decks, and receiving 3 to 5 stagger damage when hit is definitely not worth that upside. Scars, on the other hand, is fairly powerful. Taking 2 to 5 less damage from slash attacks is whatever, but on hit, reducing the damage to 0 out of 20% chance is basically just 20% damage reduction. Finally, Pale Hands is probably the one that you're going to be taking most often, as the extra stagger damage can let you finish receptions a couple scenes earlier. Next, let's move on to Scorched Girl. Scorched Girl charges up a very powerful attack, but the progress gets reset whenever one of the matchsticks are defeated, along with her losing half her health. The matchsticks are weak to blunt, so we use a similar deck, but to clash against Broken Hope, we run a defensive dice on 1. When clashing against Ember, any of your cards will do the trick. The idea is to focus down one of the matchsticks at a time, and I recommend killing the one who casts Ember first. After defeating Scorched Girl, you'll gain access to these abnormality pages. Ashes is pretty strong. Anything that increases your damage at this stage in the game was probably going to be what you're going to take most often. Footfalls makes your low HP librarians blow up when they approach an enemy. It's useful for getting an achievement, but not much else. Finally, Matchlight has some pretty confusing text, but the TLDR is this. The next 2 pages that the selected librarian plays will have their max rolls buffed by the number of Matchlight stacks. However, at 4 or more stacks, there's a 25% chance that the librarian will take damage equal to the max roll of the first die on the Matchlight page. Next, let's go over the Forsaken Murderer. The Forsaken Murderer's dice rolls are extremely high. However, if he's inflicted by a status defect like Bleed, then all of his dice will lose 4 power. Because of this, we want a deck that only has pages with status defects. The Hook Office pages are very good for this. Ideally, you want to get a status defect on the Forsaken Murderer as fast as possible so that when he casts Metallic Ringing, you can blank it by using an evade die. One thing to note is that it's pretty important to equip a page that isn't fatal to blunt damage so that you don't get instantly staggered by one bad roll. After defeating the Forsaken Murderer, you'll get access to these abnormality pages. Metallic Ring adds some pretty powerful status effects to your blunt attacks, but doesn't increase your damage, so it's not taking that much at this stage. If given the chance, Chained Wrath gives you some very powerful clashing, with your blunt die gaining an average of 2 power. And the downside isn't that big because there aren't as many people in each reception. Violence is a pretty powerful page, increasing the value of all your dice by an average of 1 power. After the Forsaken Murder, we have Today's Shylock. This is the most gimmicky of the abnormalities so far, so we can just use our regular deck. The idea behind this abnormality is to only clash when it's on its happiest face, which will make it always min roll. It is vitally important not to clash against the angry face. After defeating Today's Shylock, you'll get access to these abnormality pages. Look of the Day is very powerful, but makes the fight take a lot longer as you need to wait for the angry face, and so I would recommend not taking it. Social Distancing and Shyness are both very powerful in a defensive focused deck. Finally, let's talk about the Heart of Aspiration. The Heart of Aspiration will have 2 Lungs of Craving, which we will focus down first. Against Fervent Beats, you're going to want to have combat pages with 3 die or an evade die. Cards like Taste My Flaming Bat, Goat Harvesting, Non-Stop Assault, or Going First are all good options. Cards like Cooking Prep and Set Fire are good against retracing beats. Against the Heart's Beats of Aspiration, cards with a block die on 1 are the most effective. After defeating the Heart of Aspiration, you will get access to these Abnormality pages. Pulsation is very strong as long as you can make sure that your librarians get at least one hidden per scene. Urging is generally fairly good, giving max HP, a heal, and some speed. Fervent Beats is a very interesting page, turning one of your librarians into a hyper carry for 3 scenes before killing them. In the next video, we'll be going over the next 5 Abnormality battles, and then we'll get back on track with the main story. I'll see you soon, and as always, thank you for watching.